All right. Welcome, Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Las Vegas. Those of you that are here in person and those of you that are joining us online, it is so good to be with you again this morning. So, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Reverend Laura Hallett, and senior minister here, and I am so thrilled that we get to meet in person at least once in a while. So this is so exciting. I want to give thanks to Justin and Melissa, beautiful music this morning, and David, who joined us with the vocals on video, Joe and Roxanne and all of their talents, and our fabulous practitioners, Merlon, who gave us a beautiful meditation, and Debbie and Christine, who are sitting high watch for us today. You know, honestly, I keep saying this, but it does take a village to bring all of this together for you, and so we are so grateful to have such a heart of conscious service here in our community. Just so we're really clear, I do not have COVID, but I've been dealing with a cold for the last 10 days, so my voice is a little funky right now, but 2 negative tests, so I'm good. So this year, our theme is Living Everyday Wonder. And so we've divided that up into different aspects of our lives to figure out how we can bring more joy, wonder, awe into our everyday life. And so the month of February is working on our inner life, the things that are going on within us that we can take some time and discover what's really happening and take some time to explore those different things. Our book of the month is The Atlas of the Heart, which is Brene Brown's new book dealing with all the different emotions that we experience and the things that go along with having all of those different emotions in our lives. And so today's title, I was super thrilled to see this because this happens to be one of my favorite topics. Our title for today is Forgive to Live. And so I've been doing forgiveness talks since I started in this work back in, I guess my first one probably was around 2010, 2011, something like that. It was the first talk I ever gave in ministerial school, was on forgiveness. It's a near and dear topic to me because it has been such a transformative force in my life to actually go through forgiveness. But over the years, it has evolved. So I was excited to see the title, Forgive to Live. But then as I started prepping for my talk for this week, I realized that this is kind of a wimpy title. Because forgiveness is so much more than just being able to live. I think, and as I put up here on the screen, I think forgiveness is our ultimate superpower. It is being a spiritual warrior. It is being a freedom fighter. It is taking the things that we learn, the principles, the practices that we learn, and actually putting them into action. This is where the rubber hits the road, and we begin to actually walk our talk, is through the power of forgiveness. Now, forgiveness has many different aspects to it, but I want to take us back for a moment to our principles. I like to always bring in our science of mind principles. And so from our Declaration of Principles, our what we believe statements, Ernest Holmes writes that we believe the ultimate goal of life is freedom from discord of all nature, and that all are sure to attain this. Freedom from discord of all nature. I think that forgiveness is the way that we get to that. I think that forgiveness is the path to freedom from discord of all nature. So when we look at forgiveness, there are certain reasons that we forgive. There are reasons that are believed by society. There are reasons that we've held true for ourselves. Some of those reasons are, well, we think we should. Well, we've experienced something and we know that we're not going to get over it unless we forgive. So we think we should do it. Okay. Society says it's a good practice. So let's do this. So that's another reason that we do it, because other people around us are telling us it's a good practice. And then there's a little catch to that. Other people are telling us that we need to forgive so they don't feel uncomfortable around us. They want us to forgive. They want us to get over it so that they can actually not feel uncomfortable when they're around us. And so they encourage us to forgive. And so those are some of the reasons that we think we should be forgiving, but I'm here to tell you those are all the wrong reasons. We need to forgive because forgiveness is what will actually set us free. Forgiveness is that practice that will actually break those chains that are holding us to that event, or break the chains that are holding us to the person that caused whatever it is we're needing to forgive, whatever that pain is that we feel like we've been victimized by. If we don't practice forgiveness, they are constantly, continuously tethered to us. And it is until we forgive that we cannot break those chains. I personally think that forgiveness is a very, very selfish act. It is something that we do for ourselves. It is not about anybody else. It's not about setting those people free. It's not about forgiving that person. It's about letting that person no longer be attached to us, no longer be chained to us, and it's letting that experience no longer be the driving force of our lives. As long as we do not practice forgiveness, as long as we hold some kind of resentment there, then it's still attached to us. Now, we can think that we have forgiven, like we can actually say the words, "I forgive you." There have been thousands of cases where people have come forth in the media. They've suffered horrendous crimes that you could not even imagine how somebody can move through that. And they get on there and they say, "I forgive you." And then it still is a part of their lives. It's still attached to them in such a way that they can't move on past it. That doesn't happen for everyone, but it happens more often than not. When we say we've forgiven, we actually haven't done the work to forgive. There are so many things that we need to actually begin to understand about forgiveness that will take us to that place where we can actually get to a point where we can actually truly forgive. So, I think that forgiveness is one of the most courageous acts that we can do. As I said before, I think it's an act of freedom. And by engaging in it, we become freedom fighters. We are no longer subject to the effects of that experience in our lives. My path to freedom began in 2006. I was taking the Foundations of Science and Mind class, and the facilitator said one simple little statement that changed the course of my life. He said that you know you are forgiven when the events can pass through your consciousness and you not feel anything inside. When there's no pull on you, when there's nothing that's going to bring you back into it. And I remember thinking to myself at that time, oh my God, I want that. I want that so bad. I want to not feel the experiences that have led to this, the way that I feel right now. And so I began a systematic search for ways of forgiving. I've read every book that had the word forgiveness in its title. You got Colin Tipping's book, Forgive for Good. A little later on, Desmond Tutu's book came out, The Book of Forgiving. Both phenomenal books. They're really great. I've read books on all different types of meditation on how to forgive. And I tried lots of different things to do that. What I've come to realize is it's not the technique that's important in forgiveness. It's not the path that I choose to do that. I can follow the rituals that are in Desmond Tutu's book, The Book of Forgiving, which, again, is phenomenal. You want to talk about true, powerful, the power of forgiveness, read that book. He wrote it with his daughter, Info. And it talks about forgiveness all over the world, but it focuses quite a bit on the forgiveness that was necessary in South Africa after the apartheid ended, and the Reconciliation Commission and the work that they did. And he opens the book with a story of two young people, a girl and her brother. And when they were young children, I believe 9 and 7, they witnessed their father being murdered right in front of them in a horrific way. And they were standing at the Reconciliation Commission. And the girl says, it's probably 10, 12 years later by now, she says, I need to know the names of the people who did this because I need to know who to forgive. It wasn't about retribution. It wasn't about revenge. It was about releasing those events from their lives because those events for the past decade had ruled their lives. And so it was about releasing them, about going through that process, whichever process they chose, to release the hold that those events had on their lives. There are stories of entire families being killed in car accidents by drunk drivers, and the survivors of that reaching out to the perpetrators, and through that act of forgiveness, releasing their family from the hold that that event had on their lives, from the hold that one single moment in time was now controlling their lives. And so it's through this practice of forgiveness. So as I said, I went through this, and and as I said, I've talked about forgiveness a lot, and I talk about it, and I tell people what I did, and I get this look on their face like, oh yeah, right. You sat and chanted, and now you're free from it? So what I did was the loving kindness meditation, and I used Karen Drucker's version, which is a song. May I be filled with loving kindness, may I be well, may I be peaceful and at ease, and may I be happy. And when I tell people that my life changed through that, I get this, like I said, this look like, oh yeah, she's been smoking. This look of like, okay, this is not going to work. How can this person even say that? And so I worked with that for a long time. I was like, wait a second, but this really works. It worked in my life. It can work in your life. And they're like, yeah, no. So I started looking at what that was, and it wasn't the practice. It wasn't the chanting. It wasn't the rituals. It wasn't the reading. It wasn't that. What it was I had reached a place in my soul where my soul was crying to be free. And when I got to that place and I surrendered to it and I said, okay, you keep telling me this works, let's try it. And when I reached that point, I was open to forgiveness. And so at that point, it didn't matter what technique I used. It didn't matter how I did it. In the Bible talks about forgiveness so much. In the New International Version, the word forgive is in there 64 times. The word forgiveness, 27. They even tell you how often to forgive. Jesus tells Peter 70 times 7 when Peter asks, how often should I forgive my brother? But it never, ever once tells you how to do it. It doesn't tell you what to do specifically because there is no formula for forgiveness. What there is this willingness within ourselves, within our soul. It is a soul's cry, a soul's yearning to be free. This is what triggers forgiveness. This is what triggers the process of forgiveness. It's that little girl saying, I don't want to have this horrible crime that happened to my family held over me for the rest of my life. I want to be free from it. So I need to know who to forgive. I need to know who to forgive. Because forgiveness work in isolation doesn't work either. We have to begin to find a way to release that person. In my experience of forgiveness, I didn't have to tell the person that I forgave them. I had an opportunity, but I chose not to because it didn't seem to be relevant anymore, because the pain was no longer there inside of me. The pain was no longer there inside of me, so I didn't have to say those words. But I know, because of the events that happened afterwards, that my act of forgiveness also set the other person free. And it happened to coincide with this person's death. But I know that when they made their transition, when they passed over, that they were free from that burden because I was free from it. And so the chain had been broken. It was no longer tied. We were no longer tied together by this one single event. And so I know that this work is so powerful. It is such a phenomenal way that we can actually begin to release ourselves. I loved what Merlin said in her meditation. She said, not forgiving is like carrying a 200-pound backpack full of rocks for the rest of your life. I had a very visceral image happened to me at that moment when she said that. Many of you know I used to be quite a bit heavier. I've actually lost an entire person. And so I had an image of my mind having that 150 pounds of weight that I've lost on my back again and what that felt like. And I thought to myself, oh my God, that is forgiveness. And then on the tail of that came, well, you got a lot more weight to lose, Laura, so who else do you need to forgive? It's always a process. So, thank you very much, Merlon. I now have my marching orders. You know, we can't forgive something until we're at that point where we're ready to release it. When things happen, you know, they're like, things will occur in my life, and I think, oh yeah, I got to do forgiveness work around this. But I'm still attached to the story. And so I can't do the work yet. I can start the process. Like when I get really worked up, I'll go back into my loving kindness meditation and do that. What I do is I visualize the person as I'm saying this chant to myself, and it helps, well, for the moment, it helps get me not so angry. And that's all that matters at that moment, is to just release the tension from that moment. And so I will go back through and I'll do my practices. But I've realized that it is a continuous process. And every time I'm faced with another incident where I have the potential to forgive somebody, I can start that process, and I can start it at any point. You know, the thing that I forgave happened to me when I was a child. And so it took many years, 35 years, to get to that point where I was ready to forgive. And so when you are ready for it, your soul will call for it. Your soul will long for it, and your soul will want to be free. We will no longer be held by the chains of that one single moment in time, by that one single person. And we will be free from discord of all nature when we do that. When we begin to actually put these practices into action and begin to allow them to outpicture in our lives in a way that lets us not be attached to that event, to not be attached to that single person, that single moment, that single thing. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be defined by horrible things that have happened to me in my life. I don't want to be defined by the angry situations that I've been in. I want to be defined as me, as who I am, as a person of peace, a person that is grounded, a person that is secure in the knowledge of who they are. But if I have not forgiven those instances from the past, I am still attached to it. And so that's why I think that forgiveness is a superpower. It is something that is often thought as I don't think of a word. The word that's coming to my mind is milquetoast, that whole pansy kind of wishy-washy thing that we do just because we know we should do it. It's not that. There's no should about this. This is a must. And when it becomes a must in your life, that's when you're ready to begin forgiveness. When you can no longer do anything else but that. There were moments in my process where I would get so filled with it, because you know how it is. When you start working on something, all the stuff comes up. And I would get so filled with the anger and so filled with everything that was going on in the situation that there was literally nothing else I could do but to sit there and chant, may I be filled with loving kindness, may I be well, may I be peaceful and at ease, and may I be happy, over and over and over and over again. Until I got to a place of peace and I could walk on to the next thing. When it gets to be a must in your life, then there's nothing else you can do. So my call is to actually begin the process. Look for the places that you're still attached. Look for those places that are still pulling at you, those events or those people in your lives. It doesn't have to be big things. It can be the little things, that hook themselves to us. And so when we look for those places that we can begin to practice forgiveness, then it becomes a daily kind of experience for us. And I've found that once I experience a little release, then I want more of it. I want more of it. And so I will more willingly engage in it. And so I just encourage you, find those moments that you can do that. Find those moments when you can practice forgiveness. Find the different ways you can do it, because there are hundreds of them out there. If you can't find one yourself, go see one of our practitioners. Really, truly. Because they can see the truth for you when you can't see it for yourself. That's one of the greatest gifts. Come see me too. I'll be happy to work with you on it also, but our practitioners are phenomenal. So give one of them a call. Say, I need to forgive this and I don't know what to do. I can guarantee you they'll be able to give you about 10 different things that you can do right then to help you work through forgiveness. So. All right, so let's just take this into prayer. Prayer of forgiveness, prayer of peace, a prayer of release. And so breathing in, I tap into that heart space, that place of deep abiding peace within my very being. It is from this place that I feel connected to that one, that all-pervading presence, the beginning and the end of all. And I know that presence as one of power, of grace, of unconditional love and perfect peace. I know that one is clarity and wisdom and divine guidance. And I know that it is moving through me, as me, and all that I am and all that I do. I know that each breath I take is the breath of the divine. I breathe it in, I breathe it out. It circulates through me as I embody it. And as I know this is true for me, I know this is true for each person. For we are all a unique, perfect emanation of the one, endowed and living the life of the divine. And so in realization of this, I speak my word. I know that our lives are designed to be one free from discord of all nature. I know that our lives are an outpicturing of the divine here in action on earth. I know that our lives are intimately connected to that one all-pervading presence. I know that it is the truth of our being, now and always. And I know that as we take time to go within, to find those areas within our consciousness, within our being that are seeking a release, are seeking to be healed, are seeking a place of peace, I know that that is when the application of forgiveness becomes a powerful force. That as we surrender to this one divine presence and allow it to move through us through that practice of forgiveness, then peace is the outcome. And freedom is who we are then. We realize it at that moment, that our true nature, that the way we are to be in this life is one of freedom, of ease, of grace. That love is the permeating and dominating force of our existence. And how good it is to know this, how good it is to feel it, how good it is to see it out picturing in my life and the lives of others. Know how grateful I am. And I release this word into the law, into that creative mind that knows nothing but that perfection, that love, that peace, that freedom. I let it go and I let it be. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.